The argument started like most of them did lately, with accusation hidden behind casual conversation. Marcus sat at the kitchen table, laptop open, reviewing the Singapore contract that could change everything for his architectural firm. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. Lead designer on a billion-dollar waterfront development, 3-year contract, housing included. "You're not even listening to me," Sarah said, her voice sharp enough to cut through his concentration. Marcus looked up. His wife stood by the counter, arms crossed, that familiar expression of contempt painting her features. When had she started looking at him like that? Was it 6 months ago? A year? "I'm listening," he said quietly. "You were talking about the reunion. It's not just a reunion. It's important to me. These are my college friends, Marcus. People who actually care about what I have to say." The implication hung between them like smoke. "Unlike you." "I never said you couldn't go," Marcus replied, turning back to his screen. The Singapore firm needed his answer by Monday. 3 days. "That's not the point." Sarah's voice rose. "The point is you don't care. You're so wrapped up in your buildings and your contracts that you can't even pretend to be interested in my life." Marcus closed the laptop slowly. This conversation had been coming for months, circling them like a vulture, waiting for the right moment to strike. Maybe that moment was now. "What do you want me to say, Sarah? That I'm thrilled you're spending a week in Lake Tahoe with your ex-boyfriend and your college friends? That I think it's perfectly normal for you to post photos with Ryan every time you see him? That I haven't noticed you pulling away from me for the last year?" Her face flushed. "Ryan is married. It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" Marcus stood, facing her across the kitchen that had once felt warm and now felt like a battleground. "Because from where I'm standing, you've checked out of this marriage. You barely talk to me unless it's to criticize. You flinch when I touch you. You make plans without me and get angry when I don't react the way you want. Maybe I wouldn't need to make separate plans if you were ever available." Sarah shot back. "Everything is always about your work, your projects, your career. What about what I want? What do you want, Sarah?" The question came out tired. Marcus felt the weight of it, the accumulated exhaustion of trying to hold together something that kept slipping through his fingers like water. She opened her mouth, closed it, then grabbed her phone from the counter. Her fingers flew across the screen, texting someone. "Ryan, probably." "You know what?" she said, not looking up. "I'm going to Tahoe. And don't call me while I'm gone. I need space to think." "Space," Marcus repeated. "Is that what we're calling it?" Sarah's eyes flashed with anger. "Don't start this now. I'm going and you don't get to make me feel guilty about it. You don't own me, Marcus." The words landed like a slap. In 8 years of marriage, through all their struggles, that particular accusation had never been leveled. It revealed something fundamental, a shift in how she saw him, not as a partner but as an obstacle to her freedom. Marcus felt something crystallize inside him, a clarity he hadn't experienced in months. He walked to the window, looking out at the garden Sarah had planted 3 years ago and stopped tending 2 years ago. Weeds had taken over where roses once bloomed. "You're right," he said finally, his voice calm. "I don't own you." He turned to face her, and Sarah actually took a step back at whatever she saw in his expression. "Then don't come back." "What?" "You heard me. If you walk out that door to spend a week with Ryan and your friends, if you need space from your husband to think about whether you want to be married, then don't come back." "I'm done, Sarah. I'm done fighting for someone who doesn't want to be fought for." Sarah laughed, but it sounded uncertain. "You're being dramatic. It's just a week." "No," Marcus said. "It's 8 years of watching you drift away. It's 8 years of trying to be enough and realizing I never will be. Go to Tahoe. Have your week. But understand this. When you come back, I won't be here waiting." "You don't mean that." Marcus picked up his laptop. "I've never meant anything more in my life. You want your freedom? You have it. But freedom works both ways." Sarah stared at him, clearly expecting him to back down, to apologize, to beg her not to go. When he simply stood there, waiting, she grabbed her purse. "Fine," she spat. "Maybe I won't come back. Maybe that's exactly what I need. Then we both got what we wanted." She slammed the door so hard the wedding photo on the wall tilted. Marcus didn't straighten it. Instead, he opened his laptop and composed an email to the Singapore firm. I'm accepting your offer. When do I start? The house felt different after Sarah left. Not empty. Marcus had been alone in it plenty of times before, but lighter somehow, as if an oppressive weight had lifted from the walls themselves. He spent Friday evening systematically going through drawers and closets, sorting their lives into 3 piles. His, hers, and contested. The wedding china went into contested. The furniture they'd bought together. The art they'd chosen as a couple back when they still functioned as one. Everything else fell into clean categories, a marriage divided. Saturday morning, Marcus called his lawyer. I need to file for divorce, he said, standing in the kitchen where he'd ended his marriage 2 days earlier. And I need it done fast. Richard Chun had handled Marcus's business contracts for years. His silence on the other end of the line spoke volumes. Marcus, are you sure? Have you two considered counseling? We're past counseling, Rich. I need papers drawn up, and I need to know my options for the house. Another pause. The house is in both names. Joint tenancy. You can't just sell it without her signature. Marcus had anticipated this. What if I buy her out? I have the equity from the Singapore contract. I can wire a payment to her account, have you draft papers, and sell it immediately after. Is there any way to expedite this? You're talking about dissolving an 8-year marriage in a week. Even in the fastest circumstances. Rich, Marcus cut him off. I'm not asking if it's common. I'm asking if it's possible. Richard sighed. Theoretically, if she signs the papers willingly and you settle all assets quickly. Yes. But Marcus, people don't just draw up the papers. I'll handle Sarah. How much for her half of the house equity? They spent the next hour crunching numbers. The house had appreciated significantly since they'd bought it. Even after splitting the equity and accounting for the remaining mortgage, Sarah would walk away with $180,000. Marcus would take the loss, sell to the first reasonable offer, and still have enough from the Singapore signing bonus to start fresh. By Saturday afternoon, Rich had emailed the documents. Marcus printed them, organized them in a folder, and texted Sarah a single message. Divorce papers drafted. We'll wire $180,000 for your half of house equity. Signed digitally via email from Richard Chun. This is your easy out. Take it. He watched the text show as delivered. Then read. The typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, you're insane. We'll talk when I get back. Marcus blocked her number. Then he called a realtor. Sunday brought a parade of real estate agents through the house. Marcus chose the hungry one. A young woman named Jessica who promised she could move properties fast in their neighborhood. I need it sold within 2 weeks, Marcus told her. Price it competitively. I'm not looking for maximum profit. I'm looking for speed. Jessica's eyes widened. 2 weeks is ambitious. But in this market, I think we can do it. There's a tech couple who've been desperately searching in this area. Let me make some calls. By Monday morning, the house was listed $30,000 below market value. Jessica called before noon. I have 3 showings scheduled for today and 2 offers sight unseen based on the photos and location. This is going to move fast, Mr. Harrison. Good. Marcus spent Monday afternoon at his firm's office, putting affairs in order. His partners had mixed reactions to his Singapore decision. It's sudden, Tom said carefully. Is everything okay at home? There is no home anymore, Marcus replied. I'm selling the house, finalizing a divorce, and taking the Singapore contract. I need to be on a plane in 12 days. Can we make that work? The room fell silent. Finally, Jennifer, the firm's senior partner, nodded slowly. The Singapore project is huge for us. If you're sure about this, Marcus will support you. We can transition your local projects to Tom and bring in a contractor for the Riverside development. I'm sure. Tuesday brought the first real offer. $15,000 over asking. Cash deal. 30-day close. Marcus countered. Close in 2 weeks, and he dropped the price $10,000. They accepted within an hour. Wednesday, Rich called. Sarah emailed me. She's not happy. She says she's not signing anything until she gets back and you two can talk like adults. Her words. What's her return date? Sunday. Perfect. She can sign then or fight me for the next 2 years. Let her know the house is already in escrow and I'm wiring her the money regardless. She can either accept a clean split or watch me liquidate everything and drag this out. Her choice. Marcus. I'm not negotiating, Rich. I gave her the easy option. If she wants the hard way, that's on her. Thursday and Friday blurred together in a frenzy of packing. Marcus hired movers to put everything in storage. His pile would ship to Singapore later. Her pile would be moved to a storage unit in her name. The key would be mailed to her mother's house. He worked mechanically, wrapping their life in bubble wrap and newspaper. Each box another piece of their marriage compartmentalized, stored away. Finished. Friday night, Marcus sat in the nearly empty living room with takeout Chinese food and his laptop. Sarah's social media, which he'd been avoiding, proved irresistible. He pulled up her Instagram. The photos punched him in the gut despite his resolve. Sarah laughing on a boat, Ryan's arm casually draped over her shoulder. Sarah at dinner, wine glass raised, Ryan across the table making her laugh. Sarah at sunset, looking carefree in a way Marcus hadn't seen in years. The captions were worse. Finally feeling free. Remembering who I used to be. Some people just get you. Each post had dozens of comments from their mutual friends, hearts and fire emojis and enthusiastic encouragement. No one asked where her husband was. No one seemed to think a married woman spending a week with her ex was questionable. Marcus closed the laptop and looked around the empty room. This had been the right choice. Whatever Sarah was finding in Tahoe, it wasn't him she was looking for. Maybe it never had been. Saturday morning, the movers came. By evening, the house was empty except for Marcus's suitcase and the furniture that came with the sale. He walked through the rooms one last time, saying goodbye to the ghost of his marriage. Sunday morning, he would fly to Singapore. Sarah would return to locked doors and strangers. It seemed cruel, perhaps, but so was abandoning your marriage for a week-long fantasy with the man you should have married instead. Marcus slept on an air mattress that night, dreaming of skyscrapers and new beginnings. Sarah's flight landed at 2:47 p.m. on Sunday, 20 minutes early thanks to favorable winds. She felt different, lighter, clearer, certain. The week in Tahoe had crystallized everything she'd been feeling but hadn't known how to articulate. She needed to tell Marcus the truth. Not the version she'd been telling herself, but the real truth. She loved Ryan. Maybe she always had. Nothing physical had happened. She wasn't a cheater, despite what Marcus's paranoid accusations implied. But the emotional connection had roared back to life the moment she'd seen Ryan at the reunion. They'd talked for hours each night, walking along the lake, reminiscing about who they'd been before life got complicated. Before she'd settled for safe, dependable Marcus instead of passionate, understanding Ryan. Ryan's marriage was falling apart too. His wife didn't understand him, didn't appreciate his artistic soul. They'd agreed to divorce 6 months ago but were staying together for their daughter's sake until she left for college in the fall. After that, Sarah allowed herself to imagine it. Her and Ryan, finally together after all these years. It felt right in a way her marriage never had. The Uber dropped her at the house at 3:30. Sarah noticed immediately that something was off. The garden looked neglected, but that wasn't unusual. Neither she nor Marcus had bothered with it lately. No, it was subtler than that. The house felt vacant. She wheeled her suitcase up the walk, already rehearsing her speech. She'd be kind but firm. Their marriage was over, had been for a while if she was honest. They wanted different things. She needed someone who really saw her, understood her, chose her first. Marcus could keep the house. She didn't care about that. She just wanted out. Her key slid into the lock, turned, or tried to. The mechanism didn't catch properly. Sarah frowned, tried again. Nothing. She checked the key. Definitely the right one, worn and familiar in her hand. She tried the deadbolt key. Also wrong. What the hell? She muttered, pressing the doorbell. Maybe Marcus had changed the locks as some kind of petty revenge for her not answering his calls. Fine. They could deal with that immaturity when she got inside. Footsteps approached. The door opened. A stranger stood there. A woman in her 30s, blonde, wearing yoga pants and a Stanford sweatshirt, looking at Sarah with polite confusion. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. Sarah's brain stuttered. Who are you? Where's Marcus? Marcus. The woman glanced behind her, and a man appeared, equally unfamiliar, holding a toddler. "Honey, do we know a Marcus?" "We just moved in 3 days ago," the man said carefully. "Are you looking for the previous owner?" The world tilted. Sarah grabbed the doorframe. "Previous owner? This is my house. I live here. Where is my husband?" The couple exchanged uncomfortable glances. The woman's expression shifted from confusion to something like pity. "Ma'am," she said gently, "we bought this house. We closed on Wednesday. The previous owner, I think his name was Harrison. He wasn't here for the final walkthrough. His lawyer handled everything. He'd already moved out." "Moved out?" Sarah's voice sounded distant to her own ears. "That's impossible. I was only gone a week. We live here. 8 years. I'm sorry," the man said, "but I think you should talk to your husband. We have the title and deed. This is our house now." The door closed, politely but firmly. Sarah stood on the porch, her porch except it wasn't anymore, staring at the wood grain, trying to make her mind work. Marcus had sold their house. In a week, while she was gone. She fumbled for her phone with shaking hands, pulled up Marcus's contact, pressed call. The automated message came immediately. "The number you are trying to reach is not in service." He changed his number, or blocked her, or both. Sarah tried texting. The messages showed as sent but not delivered, blocked. Definitely. She tried calling his office. Sunday. No answer. Email. She pulled up her inbox, heart pounding, and found a message from an address she didn't recognize. Time-stamped at 6:47 a.m. that morning. "Sarah, by the time you read this, I'll be on a plane to Singapore. I've accepted a 3-year contract with Leong and Associates as lead designer on the Marina Bay expansion project. The house sold Wednesday. Your share of the equity, $180,000, has been wired to your personal account. Your belongings are in a storage unit at 445 Industrial Parkway, Unit 237. The key has been mailed to your mother's address. Divorce papers are with Richard Chen. I need you to sign them within 30 days or I'll file without your consent and this gets messier for both of us. There's no alimony, we both make good money. We split assets 50-50, which I've already done. You walk away with $180,000, your car, your 401k, and your freedom. You told me I don't own you. You were right. But you also don't get to own my time, my energy, or my future. I'm done waiting for you to decide I'm enough. I'm done being your backup plan while you figure out if you'd rather be with Ryan. I loved you, Sarah. Past tense. I gave you 8 years, and somewhere along the way you stopped wanting them. That's okay. People change. Marriages end. But I'm not going to watch ours die slowly while you work up the courage to leave. I'm doing us both a favor. Don't look for me. Don't call. I've said everything I need to say. Sign the papers. Move on. Find whatever it is you're looking for. Marcus. Sarah read the email 3 times, her hands trembling harder with each pass. This wasn't possible. People didn't just upend entire lives in 7 days. Marriages didn't end via email. Houses didn't sell in under a week. But apparently they did. Because hers had. She sank down on the porch steps, someone else's porch steps, and tried to breathe. Her phone rang. Ryan. Hey, beautiful. I know you just landed, but I've been thinking about you all day. When can I see you? We need to talk about. He's gone, Sarah whispered. What? Who? Marcus. He sold the house. He moved to Singapore. He filed for divorce. He did it all in a week, Ryan. While I was with you, he dismantled our entire life. Silence on the other end. Then, wait, Singapore? Like, the country. He took a contract. 3 years. He's on a plane right now. Sarah laughed, a brittle sound. I came home to tell him I wanted a divorce and he already divorced me. He's gone. Sarah, okay, let's think about this rationally. He can't just sell a house without your signature. He can if he wires me the equity first and gets his lawyer to handle it. Which he did. It's done, Ryan. The house is sold. There's a family living in it. He blocked my number. He's gone. More silence. Sarah could practically hear Ryan recalculating. So, you're free then, he said finally. I mean, this is what we wanted, right? For our marriages to end? It's just faster than we thought. Something cold settled in Sarah's stomach. Ryan, I'm sitting on my front porch, my former front porch, and I don't have anywhere to go. My husband sold everything and moved to another country in the time it took me to drink margaritas and remember who I used to be. And you're telling me I'm free? I didn't mean it like that. I just meant, look, come to my place. We'll figure this out. You can stay with me until you live with your wife, Ryan. She's at her sister's this weekend. Come over. Please, don't sit there alone. Sarah ended the call. She didn't hang up with words or explanations. She just pressed the red button and silenced his voice. Then she called her mother. 3 weeks later, Sarah sat in her childhood bedroom at her mother's house. Surrounded by boxes from the storage unit, she still hadn't fully unpacked. The divorce papers lay on the desk, unsigned, as if refusing to put pen to paper could somehow undo everything that had happened. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Ryan. She'd stopped counting how many there'd been. Sarah, please. We need to talk. I meant what I said at the lake. I love you. We can make this work. She deleted it without responding, just like the previous 57 messages. The door creaked open. Her mother, Carol, entered with tea, always tea, as if chamomile could fix her imploded life, and sat on the edge of the bed. Honey, Richard Chun called again. He says Marcus needs those papers signed. The 30-day deadline is in 4 days. Let it pass, Sarah said dully. Let him file without my consent. What difference does it make? Carol was quiet for a moment. At 63, she'd been through her own divorce 20 years ago. Sarah's father had left for a younger woman when Sarah was in college. Her mother understood devastation. You're angry, Carol said finally. Of course I'm angry. He abandoned me, Mom. He sold our house without telling me. He moved to another country. He blocked my number like I was some crazy ex-girlfriend instead of his wife of 8 years. Who does that? Someone who was hurt very badly. Sarah's head snapped up. Are you defending him? I'm saying. Carol sighed. Sweetheart, I love you, but I watched your marriage for the last 2 years. I saw how you talked about Marcus, how you pulled away from him. I saw those photos from Lake Tahoe. Nothing happened with Ryan, didn't it? Maybe not physically, but Sarah, you left your husband to spend a week with your ex-boyfriend. You posted photos that made it look like you were single. You told him not to call you. What did you think would happen? Sarah stood abruptly, wrapping her arms around herself. I thought he'd be there when I got back. I thought we'd have a conversation like adults. I thought I'd have time to figure out what I wanted. And what did you want? The question hung in the air. Sarah opened her mouth, closed it. The truth was complicated. I wanted. She struggled to articulate it. I wanted to not feel trapped anymore. I wanted him to fight for me, to show me I mattered more than his buildings and contracts. I wanted him to be different. No, Carol said quietly. You wanted him to be Ryan. The truth of it hit Sarah like cold water. She sank back down onto the bed. Ryan called off his divorce, Sarah whispered. Did I tell you that? His wife found out about Tahoe, not about me specifically, but that he was having an emotional affair with someone. She gave him an ultimatum. He chose her, chose his daughter. He sent me an email apologizing, saying he got caught up in nostalgia, that I'm amazing but he can't leave his family. That was 2 weeks ago. Carol's hand found Sarah's. I'm sorry, honey. The funny thing is, I don't even care that much. About Ryan, I thought I loved him, but really I just loved the idea of him. The fantasy of what my life could have been if I'd made different choices. Sarah laughed bitterly. Turns out fantasy is better when it stays fantasy. And Marcus. Sarah pulled up her laptop, opening the folder she'd been compulsively checking for 3 weeks. Marcus's social media accounts, all of them, had been deleted. His LinkedIn showed a professional headshot and his new position in Singapore, nothing personal. But through some desperate Googling and light stalking, she'd found photos from his firm's Singapore launch party. She showed her mother the image. Marcus in a sharp suit, standing with colleagues in front of floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, raising a glass. He looked good, confident, energized in a way he hadn't been in years. The comments on the photo from his colleagues were effusive. "So glad to have you on the team. The Marina Bay project is in good hands. Welcome to Singapore, Marcus." "He looks happy," Carol observed. "He looks like he's already forgotten I exist." Sarah closed the laptop. How did he just move on? How is he over there living this exciting new life, while I'm stuck in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by boxes of our failed marriage? "Maybe," Carol said carefully, "because he gave himself permission to move on, and you haven't." Sarah pulled the divorce papers toward her, staring at the signature line. 8 years of marriage reduced to legal jargon and asset division. It was so clinical, so final. "He didn't even try to save us," Sarah said, tears finally coming. "He just gave up." Is that what it was? Or did he finally stop trying to save something you'd already abandoned? The words stung because they were true. Sarah thought back to the last year of her marriage. The separate lives, the resentment, the way she'd flinched from Marcus's touch and made plans that deliberately excluded him. The way she'd compared everything he did to what she imagined Ryan would do instead. "I ruined it," she whispered. "I ruined my marriage, and I didn't even realize it until there was nothing left to ruin." "You both let it fail," Carol corrected gently. "Marriage takes 2 people. But Sarah, you need to sign those papers. You need to let him go." "What if I don't want to?" "Then call him. Get on a plane to Singapore. Fight for your marriage." Carol stood. "But honey, be honest with yourself. Are you fighting for Marcus? Or are you just afraid of being alone?" Sarah stared at the words through blurring tears. She typed, "Did I ever mean anything to you at all?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared one final time. "You were everything to me." Past tense. "That's why I left." No more messages came. That night, Sarah finally unpacked the boxes from storage, sorting through the artifacts of her marriage. Wedding photos where they both looked so young and hopeful. Ticket stubs from their honeymoon in Barcelona. The silly ceramic heart Marcus had bought her at a street fair, inscribed with "My Forever Person." She'd stopped being his forever person somewhere along the way, and he'd finally stopped waiting for her to remember that she'd once wanted to be. At 2 a.m., Sarah signed the divorce papers with a pen Marcus had given her for her 30th birthday. A beautiful vintage fountain pen she'd admired in a shop window. Even his gifts had been thoughtful, attentive to what she wanted. When had she stopped noticing? She scanned the papers and emailed them to Richard Chun. Then she sat at her childhood desk and began writing a letter she knew she'd never send. "Dear Marcus, you were right about everything. I did check out. I did compare you to a fantasy. I did take you for granted while I chased a feeling I thought I'd lost. I came home from Tahoe planning to ask for a divorce so I could be with Ryan. I wanted to be the one who left. I wanted to be the one in control of our ending. Instead, you gave me what I wanted before I could ask for it, and somehow that feels worse than anything. You didn't fight. You didn't beg. You just let me go. Part of me hates you for that. But most of me hates myself. I hope Singapore is everything you wanted. I hope you build beautiful buildings and meet someone who appreciates you in ways I forgot how to. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to love you properly. I'm sorry I didn't realize what I had until it was already gone. Goodbye, Marcus." She folded the letter and put it in a box with the rest of their history. Then she went to bed and, for the first time in weeks, slept soundly. Tomorrow she'd start looking for her own apartment. Start rebuilding a life that was truly hers. Not a compromise or a fantasy or someone else's story. But tonight, She let herself mourn the woman she'd been and the man who'd loved her anyway, until he couldn't anymore. 18 months later, Marcus stood in his Singapore apartment, adjusting his tie before a date. The harbor view from his floor-to-ceiling windows never got old, lights reflecting off water, ships moving in eternal choreography, the city alive with possibility. His phone buzzed. A message from Jennifer at his old firm. Saw your Marina Bay project in Architectural Digest. Marcus, it's stunning. You should be incredibly proud. He smiled, typing back a quick thanks. The project had exceeded every expectation. A waterfront complex that blended sustainable design with cultural sensitivity, creating public spaces that felt both modern and timeless. It would be his legacy, this building. Years from now, people would gather in those spaces without knowing his name, and that was fine. The work spoke for itself. The doorbell rang. Maya, right on time. They'd met 6 months ago at a design symposium. She was a landscape architect, brilliant and funny, with none of the baggage or games that had characterized his marriage. When they talked, she listened. When he worked late, she understood. When they disagreed, they worked through it like adults. It was easy. Maybe too easy, part of Marcus worried. Shouldn't love be harder? But his therapist, mandated by the firm for the overseas transition but genuinely helpful, had worked with him on that. Difficulty doesn't equal depth, Dr. Tan had said. Sometimes healthy relationships just feel healthy. You're not used to that. Tonight was their 6-month anniversary. Marcus had made reservations at Maya's favorite restaurant, a tiny Vietnamese place in Chinatown that tourists never found. As they rode the elevator down, Maya took his hand. You're nervous, she observed. Why? Not nervous. Just thinking about how different my life is from 18 months ago. How much better. Maya squeezed his hand. They talked about his divorce early on. Marcus believed in honesty, but he kept the details minimal. Sarah was the past. Maya was decidedly present. Dinner was perfect. They talked about her latest project, his upcoming presentation in Tokyo, the hiking trip they were planning to Borneo. Easy conversation, comfortable silences, the kind of relationship Marcus hadn't known he could have. Walking back along the harbor afterward, Maya stopped at a railing, looking out at the lights. I have something to tell you, she said. Marcus's stomach dropped. Here it comes, he thought. The complication. The revelation that even this was temporary. I got offered a position, Maya continued. Lead landscape designer for the new national park project in Auckland. It's a 2-year contract. Incredible opportunity. Congratulations, Marcus said carefully. That's really amazing, Maya. She turned to face him. I turned it down. What? Why? Because I'm happy here. Because my life is here. Because you're here. She touched his face gently. I know we haven't been together that long, but Marcus, I love what we have. I don't want to give that up for a job, even a great one. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. You can't turn down your dream job for me. Maya, that's not healthy. That's not what I want. What do you want? The question echoed, one from another life, another woman, another version of himself. I want you to take the job, Marcus said. And I want to come with you. Maya's eyes widened. Your contract here ends in 6 months. I wasn't planning to renew anyway. The project's wrapping up, and I've been thinking about what's next. He smiled. Auckland sounds pretty good, actually. You'd do that? Move countries for me? I'd do it for us, Marcus corrected. If you want me to. If this is something you want to take forward. Maya kissed him then, right there on the harbor walk, and Marcus felt something he thought he'd lost forever. The certainty of being chosen. That night, alone in his apartment, Marcus did something he hadn't done in months. He Googled Sarah. Her LinkedIn showed she'd moved to Portland, working for a boutique marketing firm. Her Instagram, once a carefully curated gallery of her life, was now private. He could see only her profile picture. Sarah smiling, but older somehow, wiser maybe. Alone in the photo. He wondered if she was happy, if she'd found whatever she was looking for, if she ever thought about him. Then he closed the browser and deleted his search history. not out of guilt but out of completion. That chapter was closed. He didn't need to keep reading it. His phone buzzed. Maya, thank you for tonight. After her mother left, Sarah sat for a long time, staring at her phone. Through a mutual friend at Marcus's old firm, she'd gotten his new number. She'd been carrying it around for a week, unable to decide what to do with it. Now, with shaking hands, she typed a message. Marcus, it's Sarah. I have your number from Jennifer. I need to talk to you. Please. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but we were married for 8 years. That has to count for something. Can we at least have a conversation? She hit send before she could second-guess it. The message showed as delivered, then agonizingly as read. 5 minutes passed. 10. 20. Finally, 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Sarah, there's nothing to talk about. Sign the papers. Move on with your life. I have. Her fingers flew across the screen. You moved to another country without telling me. You sold our house. You threw away 8 years like they meant nothing. You at least owe me a conversation. This time the response was immediate. I owe you nothing. You wanted space to find yourself. You got it. Now I'm asking you to give me the same courtesy. Sign the papers. That's the only thing I need from you.